So year sevens, we're coming towards the end of the Gothic story writing unit, and what we're going to be doing today is having a go at a writing assessment, or certainly starting to prepare the plan for an opening chapter of a Gothic story, including features of Gothic stories. So your task then, you're a successful writer of Gothic stories. You're about to write the opening chapter of your next book, which is set in a huge half-ruined castle. So already we've got Gothic features there. The setting is a real Gothic feature, isn't it? Write the opening chapter of a Gothic story ending with a cliffhanger so that the reader will want to read on. You should include some features of Gothic stories, carefully chosen words and phrases to build a spooky and scary atmosphere, and a variety of sentence types and a range of punctuation. If you're not sure about your punctuation, certainly you can use the lessons that I've also posted over the Easter holidays. We've got a lesson on colons and semicolons. So if you're really wanting to push yourself with your punctuation, have a look at that first so you know exactly where you're using them and why you're using them. So to begin with then, if you've got someone that you can discuss this with, that's great, whether that's a brother or a sister, or whether you want to phone one of your friends, FaceTime one of your friends, or talk to a parent about what the typical features of Gothic stories, what have you learned while we've been doing this unit of work? And you can write them down on a board, in your books, on a scrap of paper. Just try and recap on what those features of Gothic stories are. So give yourself a good 10 minutes trying to gather all of your thoughts around what the features of Gothic stories are. So certainly within this piece of writing, you're going to need to have a spooky setting. We've already talked about that half-ruined castle, but think about all the other things you can add to that. Creaking doors, floorboards that squeak, maybe eerie noises, bats flying around. Think about what time of day it is. If it's bright sunlight outside, is that going to be as creepy and as spooky as if it was set maybe in the evening when it's starting to get a little bit dark? You could think about maybe the weather. It might be a little bit windy or rainy, so you're taking shelter because you're not wanting to be outside. So all of those things add to the setting. Think about also your characters in there. You want to have mystery with the characters that you're creating. Don't reveal everything about them straight away. We want to be wondering about who they are. And if we're wondering about characters and we've got questions raised in our minds, then we need to read on to find out more about them so it grips the reader. And you want to create that sense of tension throughout. Build it up, make things sound like, oh, I really don't know what's going to happen next. So the reader's starting to get a little bit nervous about what's going on in your story. So putting a plan together about your story then, what is important about the opening of stories, particularly a Gothic story? Think about what we worked on last lesson when we were doing the planning the story, and we got that story of the curse. We said the first thing in that story structure was to set the scene and the characters so we can imagine as a reader where the story's set and who the main characters are. So that's really important in the opening of a story. Mind map or bullet point your ideas for the opening of your story. Remember, your story's set in a huge half-ruined castle. Use your sense to think about what will be around you. So don't just think about what your characters would be able to see. Think about what they can hear, what they can smell, what they can touch or feel. So you can think about maybe things brushing against their skin. There's going to be cobwebs in that sort of building. So they might feel something, or they might feel a draft or a breeze as they walk by a half-open window. So try and include all of that as well as what they can see. That helps to build up a spooky, scary atmosphere. And use that story checklist. Make sure you've included all the relevant features. Think about that planning the story work we did last lesson. So once you've created your plan, you can actually have a go at writing this opening chapter of your story. So it doesn't have to be the whole story. If you want to write the whole story, that's absolutely fine. A short story is okay, but just the opening chapter is what we're aiming for here. So we're setting the scene, building up that really spooky, scary atmosphere. Again, as with all of your work, if you want to email it to me, that's absolutely fine. I'll put it on folder and I can find it on there in my section on folder. That's absolutely fine. So you should give yourself probably about 20 minutes to half an hour having a go at writing this. Okay, off you go.